नमस्कार दोस्तों, मैं हूं सचिन और आपका मेरे YouTube चैनल पे बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। दोस्तों, आज हम जॉन मिल्टन की एक और पोइम डिस्कस करने जा रहे हैं, जिस पोइम का नाम है एल एलिग्रो। एल एलिग्रो एक पैस्टरल पोइम है जिसे जॉन मिल्टन ने 1645 में अपनी पोइम्स नाम की कलेक्शन में पब्लिश करवाया था। एल एलिग्रो एक इटालियन वर्ड है जिसका मतलब होता है द हैप्पी मैन। इस पोइम को अक्सर पेयर किया जाता है एक और पोइम से जिसका नाम था एल पेंसिरोसो, जिसका मतलब होता है द मेलनकली मैन। तो चलिए इस पोइम की हल्की सी इंट्रोडक्शन जान लेते हैं। एल एलिग्रो जॉन मिल्टन द्वारा लिखी गई एक प्रसिद्ध कविता है जिसमें वो आनंद यानी कि मिर्थ और प्रसन्नता का उत्सव मनाते हैं। ये कविता उनकी दूसरी रचना, जैसे कि मैंने आपको पहले ही बताया, एल पेंसिरोसो के विपरीत है, उसके बिल्कुल उल्ट बात करती है ये, जो गहरी सोच और गंभीरता को दर्शाती है। एल एलिग्रो की शुरुआत मिल्टन द्वारा मेलनकली को अस्वीकार करने से होती है, जिसे वो अंधकार, वह और मृत्यु से जोड़ते हैं और इसे हमेशा के लिए अंधेरी गुफाओं में रहने के लिए कहते हैं। इसके बाद वो एक ऐसी दुनिया का वर्णन करते हैं जो प्राकृतिक सुंदरता, संगीत, खुशी और हल्के फुल्के आनंद से भरी हुई है। कविता में प्रकृति, ग्रामीण जीवन, संगीत, प्रेम और हास्य की महिमा गाई गई है। यहाँ सब कुछ हल्का फुल्का, हर्षपूर्ण और जीवंत प्रतीत होता है। इस प्रकार मिल्टन इस कविता के माध्यम से ये संदेश देते हैं, ये मैसेज देते हैं कि खुशी और आनंद ही जीवन को सार्थक बनाते हैं और हमें उदासी को त्याग कर जीवन की सुंदरता का स्वागत करना चाहिए। चलिए दोस्तों, अब इस पोइम की लाइन बाय लाइन डिस्कशन करते हैं। Hence loathed melancholy of Cerberus and blackest midnight wane. So Milton starts his poem by rejecting sadness and gloom. He personifies melancholy as something terrible and commands it to go away. He says melancholy was born from Cerberus. Cerberus was a three-headed dog guarding the underworld, and blackest midnight symbolizing complete darkness and sorrow. In Stygian cave forlorn amongst horrid shapes and shrieks and sights unholy. Here Milton describes melancholy's home as a dark, scary cave near the Styx river, the river of the dead in Greek mythology. So he says that this place is filled with frightening figures, terrifying sounds and unholy sights. Find out some uncouth cell where brooding darkness spreads his jealous wings. Here Milton orders melancholy to go find an uncouth. Uncouth means strange and unpleasant place. He describes the darkness as a jealous bird that spreads its being and covers everything. And then he says, and the night raven sings there under ebon shades and low-browed rocks. So here the raven, who is a symbol of death and bad omens, sings in this dark place. The surroundings are covered in ebony, means deep black shadows and low hanging rocks, making it over even more depressing. तो यहाँ पे वो कह रहे हैं कि कौवा जो रेवन है वो गाता है, जो मृत्यु और अशुभता का प्रतीक है। चारों ओर काले साए हैं, नीचे झुके हुए पहाड़ों का माहौल है जो इसे और भयानक बता देता है। नेक्स्ट ही सेज, एज रैग्ड एज दाई लॉक्स इन डार्क सिमेरियन डेजर्ट एवर ड्वेल्व. So here Milton compares the rugged and rough rocks to melancholy's tangled hair. He tells melancholy to live forever in the Cimmerian desert, जो कि एक अंधकारमय जगह मानी जाती है. That is a mythical land of external darkness. But come thou goddess, fair and free, in heaven eclipsed Euphrosyne. So after banishing melancholy in the first stanza, Milton now welcomes mirth, means happiness and joy, as a goddess. He calls her fair and free, emphasizing her beauty and lively spirit. And in Greek mythology, she is called Euphrosyne, one of the three graces who symbolizes mirth, joy, and cheerfulness. Next, he says, and by men heart easing mirth, whom lovely Venus at a birth. So, while the god calls her Euphrosyne, देवता उसे यूफ्रोसिन कहते हैं, लेकिन मनुष्यों से मिर्थ कहते हैं, यानी खुशी के रूप में जानते हैं. मिल्टन कहते हैं कि वीनस प्रेम और सौंदर्य की देवी, द गॉडेस ऑफ लव एंड ब्यूटी, सजेस्टिंग दैट हैप्पीनेस इज बोर्न फ्रॉम लव एंड ब्यूटी. सो वो कहते हैं कि वीनस से ही खुशी का जन्म हुआ है, जिससे ये संकेत मिलता है कि खुशी का स्रोत प्रेम और सुंदरता है. with the two sister graces more to ivy crowned vacus bore. So here Euphrosyne is one of the three graces as I told you earlier along with her two sisters. So he's talking about two sisters of Euphrosyne, that is Aglalia, that is Splendor, and Thalia, festivity and rich banquets. So ये तीनों वीनस प्रेम की देवी और वैकस मद्यपान और उल्लास के देवता मीन्स द गॉड ऑफ वाइन एंड रेवलरी. सो ये दोनों उसकी संतानें हैं. किसकी संतानें हैं? वीनस एंड वैकस की. ठीक है. सो दिस सजेस्ट दैट हैप्पीनेस इज लिंक्ड विद लव वीनस एंड सेलिब्रेशन दैट इज वैकस. And next he says, or whether as some sages sing, the frolic wind that breathes the spring. So here Milton gives another possible origin of mirth as believed by some wise men. He says that mirth may have been born from the playful wind of spring which brings new life, warmth and joy. And next he says, Zephyr with Aurora playing as he met her once a Maying. Here Milton refers to Zephyr, the gentle west wind, and Aurora, the goddess of dawn. He imagines them joyfully meeting in May, a month of blooming flowers and happiness. And this further strengthens the idea that joy is connected with nature's beauty and renewal. There on beds of violets blue and fresh blown roses washed in dew filled her with thee, a daughter fair, so waxome, blithe and debonair. So there on beds of violets blue, here Milton describes a beautiful and peaceful setting where mirth, joy is believed to be born. The beds of violets blue symbolize purity, serenity and natural beauty, often associated with divine presence and innocence. Next, and fresh blown roses washed in dew, नए खिले हुए गुलाब नवजीवन, यौवन और सौंदर्य का प्रतीक हैं. ओस में धुले हुए का अर्थ है दैट इज वॉश्ड इन ड्यू. इट एड्स अ सेंस ऑफ फ्रेशनेस, ताजगी और पवित्रता, जो कि ये दर्शाता है कि मृत यानी कि आनंद का जन्म प्राकृतिक सौंदर्य और दिव्यता के बीच हुआ है. Filled her with thee, a daughter fair. Here Milton personifies nature, saying that nature gave birth to mirth as her beautiful daughter. And this suggests that joy is a natural force born out of the beauty and purity of the world. And finally, so waxome, blithe and debonair. Here Milton describes mirth as waxome, means cheerful and lively. Blithe means carefree and happy. And debonair means graceful and charming. This suggests that joy is full of energy, carefree nature and elegance, making life beautiful. Haste the nymph and bring with thee. Here Milton addresses a nymph. Nymph means a divine youthful spirit of nature, and Milton urges her to come quickly. This nymph, it represents mirth, happiness, joy and celebration. Jest and youthful jollity. The poet calls for jest, humor, wit, and jollity means youthful cheerfulness and liveliness. He wants mirth to bring along fun and laughter. And next, quips and cranks and wanton wiles. Quips and cranks refer to clever jokes and witty remarks. Wanton wiles means playful and mischievous tricks that add joy to life. Nods and becks and breathed smiles. Nods and becks refer to playful gestures and friendly acknowledgements. Wreathed smiles means smiles that are bright and full of happiness, like a garland of joy, such as hang on Hebe's cheek and love to live in Dimple's leaks. Here Milton refers to Hebe, that is the Greek goddess of youth and joy. Her cheeks and dimples always carry a joyful, youthful smile. This symbolizes eternal youth and happiness. Sports that wrinkled care derides. Sport refers to playfulness and fun, which makes worries and sadness seem insignificant. Wrinkled care symbolizes old age, stress and sorrow. The poet says that joy and laughter mock sadness and remove worries. Next he says, and laughter holding both his sides. Laughter holding both his sides describes someone laughing so hard that they have to hold their sides. This imagery emphasizes uncontrollable joy and happiness. Come and trip it as you go on the light fantastic toe. So the poet invites mirth to come and dance gracefully and lightly as if moving on light fantastic toe. a reference to elegant and joyful dancing. And in thy right hand lead with thee the mountain nymph sweet liberty. Here Milton asks mirth to bring liberty, personified as a mountain nymph, a free spirited and untamed entity. This suggests that true joy is connected with freedom. And next he says, and if I give thee honor due, mirth admit me of thy crew, to live with her and live with thee, in unreproved pleasures free. Here the poet requests mirth to accept him in her joyful company. He wishes to live with mirth and liberty in a life of happiness without guilt or criticism. Next he says, to hear the lark begin his flight and singing startle the dull night. Here the poet describes early morning where the lark, a singing bird, begins to sing and fly, breaking the silence of the night. This symbolizes the joy of waking up to a fresh new day. From his watchtower in the skies till the dappled dawn doth rise. So the lark sings from high up in the sky as if from a watchtower. This continues until the dawn appears, bringing light and hope. Then to come in spite of sorrow, and at my window with good morrow, through the sweet briar or the vine, or the twisted eglantine. Despite any sorrow, morning arrives, greeting the poet through nature. The fragrance of sweet briar vine and eglantine wild roses fills the air as a natural good morning greeting. Next he says, while the cock with lively din scatters the rear of darkness thin. So here the rooster crows loudly, marking the end of night and the arrival of day. His sound scatters the last remains of darkness. And to the stack o'er the barn door stoutly struts his dames before. The rooster confidently walks in front of the hens toward the barn, showing his dominance and leadership. Oft listening how the hounds and horn cheerily rouse the slumbering morn. So here the sound of hunting dogs and horns echo in the hills, waking up the morning. From the side of some hoar hill, through the high wood echoing shrill. Here the poet describes how the sounds of haunting horns and hounds travel through the landscape. Horn Hill refers to an old, frost-covered or misty hill, emphasizing the serene and picturesque countryside. Through the high wood echoing shrill suggests that these sounds reverberate sharply through the tall forest, creating a lively and energetic morning atmosphere. Sometime walking not unseen by hedgerow elms or hillocks green, right against the eastern gate where the great sun begins his state, robed in flames and amber light, the clouds in thousand liveries dight. Here the poet describes a peaceful morning walk where mirth, the spirit of joy, moves along hedgerow elms and green hillocks, small hills. Not unseen suggests that mirth is an ever-present force, though subtle, bringing happiness to those who notice it. The scene is set towards the east, the eastern gate, where the sun begins its daily journey across the sky. The sun is personified as a majestic ruler, robed in flames and amber light, symbolizing its golden morning glow. The clouds are compared to servants in bright, colorful uniforms, 1,000 liveries dight, meaning they are dressed in various hues of sunrise, gold, orange, pink and purple. While the ploughman near at hand whistles over the furrowed land, and the milkmaid singeth blithe, and the mower wets his scythe, and every shepherd tells his tale under the hawthorn in the dale. The poet paints a lively picture of a typical rural morning, full of cheerful human activity. The ploughman, working in the fields, whistles as he moves across the land, making furrows for planting crops. The milkmaid sings joyfully, blithe, as she goes about her work, adding to the cheerful atmosphere. The mower sharpens his scythe, wets his scythe, it means preparing to cut grass or crops. Shepherds gather under a hawthorn tree in the dale. It means engaging in storytelling, chatting, or perhaps counting their sheep. So this stanza beautifully captures the simplicity and harmony of rural life, where nature and human labor coexist in a pleasant rhythm. Straight mine eye hath caught new pleasures, whilst the landscape round it measures, russet lawns and fallows grey, where the nibbling flocks do stray, mountains on whose barren breast the labouring clouds do often rest, meadows trimmed with daisies pied, shallow brooks and rivers white. कवि यहाँ अपने आसपास के सुंदर प्राकृतिक दृश्य की सराहना करते हैं। उनकी आंखें नए आनंद को पकड़ लेती हैं जैसे ही वे अपने चारों ओर के लैंडस्केप को निहारते हैं। वे रसिट लॉन्स मीन्स गहरे भूरे रंग की घास के मैदान और फैलोस ग्रे एक ऐसे खेत जो फसल उगाने के लिए कुछ समय तक खाली रखे गए हैं का वर्णन करते हैं, डिस्क्रिप्शन करते हैं, जिनमें भेड़ें निबलिंग फ्लोक्स शांति से चर रही हैं, मतलब घास खा रही हैं। पहाड़ों के वे वंजर छाती बैरन ब्रेस्ट कहते हैं, ठीक है, तो वो पहाड़ों को वंजर छाती कहते हैं, बैरन ब्रेस्ट कहते हैं, जहाँ अक्सर बादल ठहरते हैं मानो वे थके हुए हों, लेबरिंग क्लाउड्स डू ऑफन रेस्ट। वो एक खूबसूरत दृश्य बनाते हैं जहाँ फूलों से भरे हरे भरे मैदान, मिडोज ट्रिम विद डेजीज पाइड दिखाई देते हैं और उथली नदियाँ और चौड़े दरिया प्रवाहित होते हैं। ये पूरा चित्रण ग्रामीण और प्राकृतिक सुंदरता का उत्सव मनाता है जहाँ हर तत्व शांति और आनंद से भरा हुआ है। Towers and battlements it sees, bosomed high in tough trees, where perhaps some beauty lies, the cynosure of neighboring eyes. Now the poet's gaze now shifts to man-made structures, towers and battlements, rising above the trees. Blossomed high in tough trees suggests that these architectural wonders are nestled within thick foliage, blending nature and civilization. He imagines that inside one of these grand buildings there may be a beautiful woman, some beauty admired by those around her. The cynosure of neighboring eyes means she is the center of attention, someone whose beauty captivates and fascinates all who see her. Hard by a cottage chimney smokes from betwixt two aged oaks, where Corydon and Thyrsis met, are at their savoury dinner set of herbs and other country masses, which the neat-handed Phyllis dresses, and then in haste her bower she leaves, with thistles to wind the sheeps, or if the earlier season lead, to the tanned haycock in the meat. Now the poet zooms in on a quaint countryside cottage from which smoke is rising, indicating a warm and homely meal being prepared. The cottage is situated between two ancient oak trees, symbolizing stability and tradition. The mention of Corydon and Thyrsis, names from classical pastoral poetry, refers to simple shepherds enjoying their rustic life. These shepherds are sitting down to a humble but satisfying meal consisting of herbs and traditional country dishes, country messes, lovingly prepared by Phyllis, a diligent and efficient countrywoman. Now, after serving the meal, Phyllis quickly leaves her cozy space, bower, to join Thistles, another country girl, in binding the harvested wheat sheaves in the field. If the season is still early, instead of wheat harvesting, the workers would be piling up sun-dried hay, tanned haycock in the meadow, that is meat. So this vivid pastoral scene captures the simplicity, industry and communal spirit of rural life, celebrating the hard work and harmony of the countryside. Sometimes with secure delight, the upland hamlets will invite, when the merry bells ring round and the jocund rebeck sound, to many a youth and many a maid dancing in the checkered shade, and young and old come forth to play on a sunshine holiday, till the livelong daylight fail, then to the spicy nut-brown ale, with stories told of many a feat, how fairy Mab the junkets eat. She was pinched and pulled, she said, and he by friars lanthorn led, tells how the drudging goblin sweat, to earn his cream bowl duly set, when in one night ere glimpses of morn, his shadowy flail hath thrashed the corn, that 10 day labourers could not end, then lies him down the lubber faint, and stretched out all the chimney's length, basked at the fire his hairy strength, and crow full out of doors he flints, ere the first cock his maiden rings. So here the poet shifts to festivities in rural villages, upland hamlets where people gather in carefree joy. The ringing of church bells and the sound of jocund rebecks, cheerful, stringed instruments like fiddles, call both young men and maidens to dance under checkered sheet, the dappled sunlight filtering through tree leaves. The entire village, young and old, comes together on holidays, enjoying outdoor games and dancing until sunset. As night falls, the revelers gather to drink spicy nut brown ale, a traditional country beverage. They tell old folk stories about fairies and goblins, such as Fairy Mab, a mischievous fairy queen who claims she was pinched and pulled by unseen forces. The Friar's Lanthorn, Will o' the Wisp, which leads travelers astray. The drudging goblin, hard-working spirit who magically completes enormous tasks, such as thrashing more grain in one night than 10 men could in a day, in exchange for a bowl of cream. After his labor, the lubber fiend, lazy goblin, stretches out in front of the fire, enjoying its warmth before vanishing at dawn, just before the rooster crows. So, these lines blends lively human celebrations with supernatural folklore, highlighting the joys of simple village life intertwined with mythical beliefs. Thus done the tales to bed they creep, by whispering winds soon lulled asleep. After enjoying the night filled with merriment, folk tales, and drinks, the villagers quietly retired to their beds. As they lay down to sleep, the soft whispering winds gently lull them into slumber, creating a peaceful and soothing atmosphere. So, the depiction of an idealized rural night where joy transitions seamlessly into restful sleep, guided by nature's gentle lullaby. Towered cities please us then, and the busy hum of men, where throngs of knights and barons bold, in weeds of peace high triumphs fold, with store of ladies whose bright eyes reign influence and judge the price of wit or arms, while both content to win her grace whom all commend. अब कवि गांव से नगर की ओर बढ़ते हैं और शहरों के वैभव की प्रशंसा करते हैं। वे कहते हैं कि ऊंचे ऊंचे गुंबदों और मीनारों से सजे नगर, टावर्ड सिटीज़, वी हमें उतना ही आनंद देते हैं। वो लोगों की चहल पहल, दैट इज़ वीजी हम ऑफ मैन, व्यापार, चर्चाएं और सामाजिक गतिविधियां होती हैं। शहरों में वीर योद्धा और अमीर सामंत, नाइट्स एंड वेरेंस इकट्ठा होते हैं, लेकिन अब युद्ध के बजाय शांति के वस्त्र, वीड्स ऑफ पीस, धारण कर महोत्सवों और प्रतियोगिताओं में भाग लेते हैं। इस भव्य आयोजन में राजसी महिलाएं भी उपस्थित होती हैं, जिनकी चमकती आंखें, ब्राइट आइज, प्रतिभागियों के भाग्य का फैसला करती हैं। ये प्रतियोगिताएं या तो बुद्धिमत्ता, बिट में होती हैं या फिर शौर्य, आर्म्स में, और सभी विजेता को इन उत्तम महिलाओं का सम्मान और अनुग्रह प्राप्त करने की इच्छा रखते हैं। There let Haman oft appear in saffron robe with taper clear, and pomp and feast and revelry, with mask and antique pageantry, such sights as youthful poets dream on summer ice by haunted stream. The poet now invokes Haman, the Greek god of marriage and ceremonies, to frequently appear in splendid wedding processions. Haman is described wearing a saffron robe, a traditional color associated with weddings in both Greek and Roman traditions. The taper clear, a burning torch, symbolizes the light of marriage. The poet envisions grand celebrations filled with luxurious feast, joyful revelry, and elaborate performances, including masked dances and theatrical displays, masked and antique pageantry. So these grand festivities resembles the visions of romance and magic that young poets dream of on warm summer evenings by mysterious enchanted rivers, haunted stream. This imagery reflects the ideal harmonious union of love, art and festivity in city life. Then to the well-trod stage anon, if Johnson's learned soak be on, or sweet as Shakespeare, fancy's child, warble his native wood notes wild. Milton shifts focus to the theatre, an essential part of urban cultural life. The phrase well-trod stage refers to the established tradition of drama, particularly the plays performed in Elizabethan and Jacobean theatres. He mentions Van Johnson, calling him learned, which highlights Johnson's scholarly, well structured, and classical approach to drama. The sock refers to the traditional footwear worn by comic actors in Greek and Roman plays, symbolizing Johnson's mastery of comedy and drama. In contrast, Milton describes Shakespeare as fancy's child, emphasizing his natural poetic talent and creative genius. Shakespeare's plays are filled with raw, untamed poetic beauty, which Milton describes as native wood notes wild, suggesting that his writing flows as naturally as melodiously as birds singing in the wild. The comparison suggests a contrast between Johnson's refined intellectual approach and Shakespeare's spontaneous imaginative brilliance. And ever against eating cares, lap me in soft Lydian airs, married to immortal verse, such as the meeting soul may pierce. The poet wants to escape the worries of life, eating cares, through the power of music and poetry. He asks to be wrapped, lap me, in soft Lydian airs, referring to the Lydian mode of music, known for its soothing and enchanting melodies. Music and poetry are described as married, meaning they complement each other perfectly, creating a divine experience. Such harmonies are so powerful that they can pierce the soul, that is, deeply moving the listener. Next, he says, in notes with many a winding bout of linked sweetness long drawn out, with wanton heat and giddy cunning, the melting voice through mazes running. So here the poet describes how the notes of music move. They are intricately connected like a long winding melody. The phrase linked sweetness long drawn out suggests that the music is continuous and harmonious like an extended melody full of charm. Wanton heat and giddy cunning suggest a playful yet skillful handling of musical notes where the melody weaves through intricate patterns, mazes running. And next he says, untwisting all the chains that tie the hidden soul of harmony. Music is so powerful that it can untangle and free the hidden soul of harmony. This suggests that music has a spiritual and liberating power, capable of unraveling the complexities of existence and offering peace. Then he says that Orpheus' self may heave his head from golden slumber on a bed of heaped Elysian flowers, and hear such strains as would have won the ear of Pluto to have quite set free his half regained Eurydice. The poet invokes Orpheus, the legendary musician from Greek mythology. According to myth, Orpheus played such divine music that he could move even the gods and the dead. Here, Milton imagines that if Orpheus heard such melodies, he would rise from his sleep in the heavenly Elysian fields, enchanted by their beauty. The poet also suggests that this music is so powerful that it could have convinced Pluto, the god of the underworld, to fully release Eurydice instead of letting her slip away. This comparison elevates music and poetry to a divine transformative force. And finally he says, these delights if thou canst give, mirth with thee I mean to live. The poet concludes the poem by declaring his allegiance to mirth, that is, joy and happiness. He expresses that if mirth can provide such divine delights, that is, music, poetry, laughter, and pleasure, he wishes to devote his life to it. This reinforces the poem's central theme, that is, the celebration of joy, music, and the pleasures of life. So, this is how the poem comes to an end. I hope you understand the poem, and I hope you got the themes also. And if you have any question, write down in the comment section. I'll try to answer your queries. Thank you very much for watching the video. Have a great day.